After being off the air for 10 years, Futurama has finally returned to Hulu exclusively, and after watching the entirety of season 11 of the show, I'm left somewhat underwhelmed. In the 10 new episodes featured in season 11, there are a handful that recapture the magic of the original series, a few that are somewhat mediocre, and one episode that is downright terrible. While watching this new season of Futurama, I couldn't help but be reminded once again of the revival of Clone High that came out just a few months ago. Season 11 of Futurama doesn't try to shoehorn in a bunch of new characters that are incredibly underdeveloped into the main cast, so there is that one main difference, but a lot of the social commentary and episode plots felt like they were trying to be just a bit too current. It's a difficult thing to explain without spoiling the episodes as a whole, but Futurama does make a concerted effort to tackle some current topics, from Amazon to the pandemic and the vaccine, and there's even an episode that talks about crypto in the future, framed as a sort of gold rush parody. And while these episodes aren't downright bad, I even really enjoyed the Amazon parody episode, they felt a little dated right out of the gate, meaning that these topics have already been tackled by other TV shows. Other forms of media have already commented on the stuff Futurama is trying to socially comment on, and that makes them feel a little stale and a little old right out of the gate, which is not a good thing for a new season of a TV show. Going back to my comparison to the Clone High revival, I feel like Futurama does a better job at actually joking about some of the things that they are currently talking about. So if there's an episode about a certain character getting canceled, which is an actual episode in Futurama, as well as the Clone High revival, it doesn't feel like they're just bringing that up because it's current. It feels like it works with the characters that they've set up, and Futurama, unlike Clone High, has 10 seasons of character development to work with. So when you introduce a character like Zapp Brannigan into this cancel culture, it somewhat works, because if you're a fan of Futurama, you understand Zapp Brannigan's character, and you understand that out of all the characters in Futurama, if anyone's to get roped up in cancel culture, it would probably be him. But despite the fact that this social commentary works better in Futurama than it did in the Clone High revival, it still feels like the show is a little bit late to the party. It has been 10 years since we last had a new season of Futurama, and it does feel like the writers are just a little bit behind the times. But that is something that could be fixed in a second season, which Futurama is already confirmed to have over at Hulu, and as far as I understand it, that is a season that is going to go through because this Futurama revival has been at least somewhat successful. Outside of the current topics and social commentary, there are plenty of fun sci-fi premises in this new season of Futurama, and even some okay character moments. There's nothing on the level of the Luck of the Fryrish, which I just did a video on. If you want to check that out, it'll be linked at the end of this one. But there is plenty of fun stuff to enjoy in this new season, with one clear exception, and that is the second to last episode of season 11 of Futurama. This episode is beyond terrible. It goes against everything set up in the previous 11 seasons, and then just kind of goes back on it because they needed an episode to happen. I'm not going to spoil it here in case you still want to check it out. The premise of the episode is the crew members are reborn as toys. That's what it says on IMDb. And you would think, okay, we're doing like a little goofy one-off anthology episode, but they try to frame it within an actual story in the real world of Futurama, and the story is an utter waste of time that goes against everything set up with a bunch of our main characters. Not gonna spoil it, it might be one that's worthy of its own video for how terrible it is, and right now it's actually the lowest rated episode of Futurama on IMDb by a pretty significant margin. This episode is awful, and if they had carried out this level of planning, thinking, writing, storytelling in all the episodes of season 11, it would have been unwatchable. Luckily though, this was not the final episode of season 11. They actually ended on a really nice high note with an episode about the Planet Express crew investigating whether or not they live in a simulation. It's really great. It's a fun sci-fi premise. It works with all the characters. I just loved this episode, and it easily washed the taste of the previous episode out of my mouth. With all that being said, I don't have much more to complain about when it comes to this new season of Futurama. In my initial review of the first 3 episodes or so, I described it as just more Futurama, and that's really what this is. There are some standout, really great episodes, some mediocre ones, and then one that is worse than anything else in the entire series. I'd have to go back and rewatch it to really confirm that statement, but the second to last episode of this season is really, really terrible. The animation in this new season is all perfectly serviceable. It's your standard Simpsons-esque animation with some fun sci-fi premises that bring fun set pieces that are well animated, but it's not gonna blow anyone away. The voice acting definitely sounds a bit more aged, which is to be expected after 10 years since the last season of the show. But lucky for Futurama, the show's timeline is actually moving forward. The characters are aging, time does progress. So it's not like The Simpsons where they've all been the same age for 10, 20, 30 years. Time is actually moving forward, so in the next season, I doubt they'll do this, but if they were to just age up the characters just a little bit to show that a bit more, I think it could cover up some of the more aged sounding voice acting. And with that, we've sort of reached the end of this review. I don't have a whole lot more to say. I laughed a lot at the show. I was horribly disappointed with one episode of the show. All in all, it's worth watching if you're a fan of Futurama, and if you've never seen Futurama, absolutely check out this show. Don't let one bad episode from this new season scare you away. The show as a whole is fantastic, and after 10 years, I am surprised at how well this show was able to just pick up like nothing ever happened. It really is impressive. If I had to give the new season a score out of 10, it is dragged down a whole lot by some mediocre social commentary and one really terrible episode, so I'm sitting at sort of a low 7, high 6 is kind of my range right now. I'm not doing official numbers or anything for my reviews anymore just because I think it's kind of dumb. I think if you watch the entire review and hear everything I have to say, you can kind of get a vibe. If it's for you, you shouldn't be influenced by just a number. So there's that number if you'd like to know my opinion on that, but I do absolutely recommend this show as a whole, and if you've been putting off watching the 11th season, there is definitely some fun to be had. So with that, thank you all very much for watching this video. Make sure to like and subscribe and all that fun stuff. Next up on the agenda is a video reviewing Fiona and Cake, the new Adventure Time show that a lot of people have been talking about. I haven't seen a single episode at this time, and the rest of my day after editing this video is going to be watching that and then writing and recording a review tomorrow, so expect that video on Saturday. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. I already said it, but I'm going to say it again. Do all that stuff. Goodbye.